This content is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on here constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Draper Goren Holm or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments whatsoever.
Hey everyone, it is me. We are here. Joseph is here too. Say hi, Joseph.
Hey, what's up?
Boom, boom, boom. We're recording.
Good morning, everyone. Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Hey everyone.
I am recording this on the computer now.
Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Hey everyone.
Boom. All right. It says it's recording. Boom, 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 boom.
I am apparently recording.
The entire bottle of control. They're all exactly the same.
Crypto art, and then what it really is an NFT.
Wow.
Eddie wants to slap the bag.
So this is the next best thing.
DeFi is going to be a bubble.
It's provably scarce.
With Mad Dog.
Crypto, gold, and silver.
Transparent substance.
Take my money, start a war with it.
Without further ado.
Cheers to you, brother.
Get shit done.
Because the system has to collapse before that.
My corona.
Cheers. I feel much better now.
Cheers.
Wow, that was heavy.
Boom. Welcome to Blockchain Booze number, 114. 114. Andrew, what was that? What are you drinking? I have a margarita tonight.
I was having margaritas last night, so I'm taking it easy tonight. Yesterday was a holiday.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. We did have a holiday yesterday. For me, it was more Sunday night. But welcome, Blockchain Booze number 114. Welcome back, Andrew Dix, to the show. Stoked to have you back, of course. And Lorenzo, it's your first time on the show. Welcome. Cheers. I think today the topic is going to be security tokens, but we're lucky that we have Lorenzo is in Italy right now. He's going to give us a little Italy update on what's going on over there. We were talking right before we went live about what's up, and we had Andrew was with us at Security Token Summit a few weeks ago, so we're going to ask him a little bit of what he thought of the event, and of course, for the rest of you who are joining us at meet.blockchainbooze.io, throw questions in the QA. We're really lucky to be joined by these guys who can answer all the questions. But first off, Lorenzo, welcome to the show. Welcome to Blockchain and Booze. Excited to have you. I would love a little background on you and Block Invest and what you guys are working on.
For sure. Since we are in Italy, the coffee machine, it's
very important.
Very important. Otherwise, we cannot work in Italy. In Milan, it's a great night. 2 a.m. in the morning. It's great to stay an hour with you before to see the match at the NBA finals. So
yes. Yeah, Lorenzo was. I thanked him for being online at 2 a.m, and then he let me into the fact that he'd be up anyway because he's waiting for the finals. So whatever, fine. It's all good. But tell us about Block Invest. Give us your background, and then we'll get the recap from Andrew.
Yeah, I try to be very brief. I used to work as an engineer in cruise construction when my life was quite easier. Then I discovered crypto space thanks to actually a guy from Miami, and we went all in. So we started studying the blockchain space in 2016, and I had a couple of experiences in Switzerland in so-called Crypto Valley when everything started. And after a couple of years, I found crazy people that basically are my first investor. And we decided to launch a company coming back in Europe from Switzerland. And we decided to land in Milan. And we are here. We try to bring the blockchain to the banks. Not only to the banks, to the financial institution in general, to with the ambition to help them to bring the real world asset on the blockchain. So summarizing, this is what we are trying to do.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, and I'm excited to jump into some of that too, and hear how you guys are doing it and how the banks are receiving it right now. But Andrew, for everyone who doesn't already know you, give us a quick background on you.
So my name is Andrew Dixon. I'm the founder and CEO of Crowded Media Group. We publish news on Crowdfund Insider, and we cover the full stack of fintech, including digital assets, online banking, blockchain, online capital formation. We're there because finance is cool again. And I get to hang out with guys like Alon and Lorenzo. These global characters that they're in the know.
Everybody watching has to know what kind of celebrity Andrew Dix is, right? Hey, Eric, welcome. For those of you watching, by the way, jump into meet.blockchainbooze.io and say hi. But we were at our security token summit, and like every person who was a top person was asking for selfies with Andrew. It wasn't the other way around. Brooke Shields was like, oh, I need a picture with Andrew, right? The mayor of New York, Congressman Tom Emmer, everyone, they needed pictures with Andrew. So,
yeah, it was a hot event. I think it was the event of the year. We were talking about blockchain, digital assets. So if you weren't there, plan on being there next year because it was awesome. No, all things considered, I will say this, Alon, is that you guys put on a top-notch event. Very professional. The venue was awesome. I'm very happy you moved it to Manhattan because you had the ability to bring in some more of the traditional financial services people because they've been watching this for years, but giving them the opportunity to walk over and see people face to face and talk to people face to face, I think that helps a lot because all of this is converging, and all of this over time is going to merge together. And I believe you or somebody told me that you had some pretty big banks there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. So I would say, I'm trying to think of who was on stage, right? But I know we had like Credit Suisse on stage, and they've been kind of participating in the space, and a bunch of the other banks. But I think we had, without throwing people, I know some people couldn't be on stage or whatever for public reasons, whatever. But we literally have people from like J.P. Morgan there, people from Goldman Sachs in attendance, and basically all of the largest banks in the world had participants. Citi had participants who came to the event or participated on stage. And what I saw, in the last couple of years, COVID and all that stuff, what I saw was that people came to the table during COVID times, that maybe the only way you got them around the same table was like hosting a fancy dinner after an event that they were all at, right? You couldn't go like, hey, head of, the capital markets group of this bank, come hang out with the head of the capital markets group on this bank while I shill you this idea about security tokens in a meeting. Like it would take months to even get a meeting with any single one of these people before COVID. And then you'd have to travel across the world to meet them in their office, right? And over COVID times, some of that changed. And one of the big things, that we talked about at the event was what Onera is doing and that FinP2P stuff, where there's a lot of collaboration happening, cross-jurisdiction, cross-bank, cross-blockchain, cross-platform. And all of a sudden, the banks are seeing like, oh shit, this isn't just this niche thing. This is the future rails of everything we're doing, but digital. And they're participating or beginning to participate in a meaningful way. And that's what was exciting. And that's why, one of the reasons why we did it in New York, it was, before we did it in New York, it was a hypothesis. We're like, well, if these guys won't fly to us in LA, or at least it'll be a tough sell to get them to fly to us in LA, if we do this, walking distance from their office, maybe they'll show up. And it turns out that they did. And it's partly it's probably less that we did it down the street from them, although it helped, and more that they're actually adopting this stuff and really participating. I don't know, Lorenzo, from your perspective, you talked about building for the large financial institutions. What, how have things changed in the last couple of years on that front?
I mean, things are changing very rapidly also here. I would say not in Italy, in Europe. I mean, we are very proud to say that we are the first investment that Crédit Agricole Banks makes in an Italian startup. So I have a bank in my cap table. And considering that in 2017, I was traveling all over the world with the T-shirt "No Bank Society," is absolutely
I need one of those.
So yeah, I mean, one of the most Swiss famous bank closed me account in 2017. I was banned because I was one of the guy talking bad about bank. I mean, times are changing, and I heard the famous quote that says that the difficult period create strong men, and COVID accelerate this process. Not only because we are now used to work remotely and it's easier to meet people, but we need to find a new way to do what we used to do before COVID. Things will never be the same. And I mean, in this situation, I think that the blockchain as a technology, as an infrastructure, is absolutely an opportunity to create a real capital market union. Because now we don't have this kind of stuff. As an Italian investor,
I like that you say it like as a capital market union. That's what you said, right?
Yeah,
I like that. But
we don't have it. We don't have it.
No,
We
not-
never have it
not even a little.
in this way. So this is the real thing that blockchain can do. Apart from the speculation is good. Thanks to speculation, I was like in the position to quit my job and launch a startup because I mean I bought Ethereum at $9. But apart from that,
very jealous.
It's the infrastructure that is absolutely great. It's crazy. It makes me crazy, makes us crazy sometimes, like today, because Polygon Network was, had some issue, let's say, and we had client in production issuing tokenized bonds. But I mean, this is the game. But this is absolutely an opportunity for people like me in Milan that would like to invest in a real world asset in a company in US. Right now,
did you say you're tokenizing bonds on your platform?
Yeah, I mean, not directly us, because we provide the technology, but our client with our platform can tokenize bonds, exploiting mainly the tailored regulation, very advanced, that we have in Luxembourg, and 99% of the operation done in Europe are launched in Luxembourg. I mean, also in Switzerland, but it's another market. In Luxembourg, there is a quite new regulatory framework that basically really apply the technological neutrality. So if you issue a bond in a classical way or using a decentralized ledger technology, it's almost the same thing. We have several success stories on that. So basically, most of the companies that are issuing bond using blockchain are securitization companies. So,
are you working with Tokeny?
Sorry?
Are you working with Tokeny and Lux?
No, I know them because we have few people in this market, but I'm not working with them yet. But
were you involved with there was a French bank that tokenized a bond in Luxembourg. Were you involved with that at all?
No. I mean, the French bank was Société Générale. Basically, they use kind of their platform. They're still building. Very nice success story. And then there is Tokeny, held by, Euronext, as far as I know. And then is like the Italian guy backed by Crédit Agricole. So few operators in the market, but the opportunities are great. Because especially because in our vision, there are more interesting underlying assets that were to study and tokenize. The French bank you mentioned, Tokeny, are more dedicated to classical bonds or equity. Instead, I think that this is a huge market, so best luck to them. But we are more dedicated to, let's say, particular asset class that no one touch right now, because are very difficult to manage, to handle, because you need to do a lot of work before the tokenization part. Okay, you need to create a very reliable, structured data set before tokenize it. And I'm talking about non-performing loan, for example, or unlikely to pay portfolio with different kind of underlining, could be a real estate or not, personal financial credit. So the bad credit, and especially for COVID, Europe is full of that. So we are talking about a market of $1.3 trillion. So it's great. And
so you're going to securitize those assets in a digital process? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, basically you securitize the recovery process of that asset.
Okay.
So basically the thing is you have a portfolio of credit with underlying real estate, let's say. The gross book value is 1 billion. Okay. The bank, for a matter of regulation, is obliged to sell that credit. And especially investment fund could buy at huge discount this kind of assets, 20% of the gross book value. So basically, if you buy in the right way and you're able to manage and to recover and to, let's say, make the right capex for real estate, for example, you can make a huge profit that you cannot do in normal market. This is one of the success story that we can disclose. We're very focused on the bad credit. It's a huge opportunity.
So you're doing institutional digital securities that are probably traded amongst institutions internally or dark marketplaces, but not on public markets, right?
No, it's not a public market.
Right.
It's a closed infrastructure. Let's say it's a huge club deal, because actually in the normal way it works just with one seller and one buyer, but you can create a token senior and token junior to create two token nodes. So now there is the opportunity to include also private individual, and not like a retail investor, but a private individual that would like to invest in a new asset class rather than the classical one that we know that are negative or close to zero ROI. Here, the opportunities through the tokenization is not only cutting time and cost, but gives the opportunity to invest in new stuff in a digital way, like a safe haven goods, a new safe haven goods, but with a couple of clicks in another country. Okay, just tell you something very, very interesting. One of our clients structured from Luxembourg a tokenized bond, actually is a green bond that is issued to for the revamping of an old industrial site that will be dedicated to recycling complex material. Okay, a usual investor of this kind of product is a bank or is the state. Okay, fund on state. Now in this operation were involved only private accredited investor, and they sold in a matter of hour the tokens. So is something new, something interesting, and is not completed when you issue and place the token, because the fact that all the data are on the blockchain, you can also provide all the work in progress data to tell to your investor that you are working in the right way. So you continuously provide value to the tokenized asset, and so to the tokens, and it's easier to resell on the secondary market, even if maybe it's ready to talk about secondary market and security token.
It's interesting. I mean, I think that the potential that security tokens and digitizing all this stuff that unlocks when you do this is really exciting. But maybe we're not totally there yet from the infrastructure side, from the secondary market side of things, right? But I feel, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, you see so much more of this and you're really, much more focused on this than I am on a day-to-day basis. But it feels like the beginning, percolation or whatever you would say of this secondary market is actually coming together now. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, digital securities are the future. Everybody, I don't know anybody who says no, that's not going to happen. It just, it's nonsensical. Anybody who has that belief we're going to still be, using paper. It's just a question of how much time it's going to take. I will say this because you're kind of, we're talking on an actually pretty big news day, and there were two events that really align with this. First, this morning, Singapore and everything that goes through Singapore is channeled through the government, announced a pilot program that was called Project Guardian, and it's designed to review the potential of asset tokenization. And it's everything, right? It's not just debt equity. It's accounts, lending, identity. It's everything. And they're partnering with the big banks. They're partnering with DBS. They're partnering with JP Morgan, right? And JP Morgan sometimes quietly does this stuff, and sometimes they're out front, like JPM Coin. So this is something that they've announced today, and effectively they want to prove out that digital securities, digital assets are the future, and it's all government sanctioned, backed, supported, which is an awesome process happening in one of the leading fintech hubs. The other thing is, somebody's asked a question about infrastructure there. It's hard to have infrastructure without regulation. In the United States, the regulation has been opaque at times. You have Senator Loomis's draft legislation that everybody's been talking about. It came out today, and that creates potentially the outline, the guidelines for a regulatory ecosystem where we get to the future of digital securities, digital commodities, stable coins, all these bits and pieces that we've been talking about for so long that are foundational to tokenization and the future of assets on the blockchain.
Yeah, I think I'm also seeing some people ask about what platforms are starting to gain traction, and to be honest, the truth is that no platform has any significant traction as of yet. If I'm being totally honest, that includes, the biggest brands in the space, right? Like the amount of traction is meaningless compared to how large the opportunity is and how one single deal on one single real estate deal or one single bond deal or one single any kind of deal in this space could dwarf the whole market overnight, right? Like, look at our friends that do the security token market website. What is it called? To give them love, right? The guys who came to our event.
Security token market.
So those guys do a nice little like coin market cap version of security tokens. And it's like the top one is basically like non-existent compared to just the startup private market world, right?
It depends.
Look at Andrew. I look every once in a while at Disclosure Quest, right? And you look at Disclosure Quest, you see the deals that are happening right now. You're seeing deals that are tens of millions of dollars and things like that. And compared to the security token market, it doesn't exist yet, right? Like, or the security market. But there are really big deals that Lorenzo's company is doing, that Onera is working on behind the scenes, that a lot of the folks that are written about in Crowdfund Insider are doing right now. And it's just, we're moments away from those secondary markets opening up, right? And all of a sudden there being something there, right? Because T0 can't be a secondary market when I can't move money from my Schwab account to T0. I have to buy some crypto. I have to log into that. I have to transact on that blockchain. I have to KYC all over again. It's just not ready yet. The infrastructure is not ready yet, but we're moments away, right?
No, I mean, moments, you have to define a moment. It's part of the challenge here is change and innovation is messy, and financial services is the second most regulated industry in the world. You know, you have healthcare and doctors, and then you have financial services. And when you involve or engage with that degree of regulation and compliance, it slows things down. That's just a fact. Now, there's a lot of private market deals that are pretty significant, but things that are going to be coming out on the public markets, it's going to take time. And you're right. T0, Securitize, some of these other exchanges or marketplaces, ADDX in Singapore, some of these other marketplaces, they have some good sized deals coming on there that are viable and investable, all of them, but you don't have that degree of liquidity that you want to have, that you have come to know and enjoy on well-known exchanges. But it is coming, and it is coming to, eventually. It's inevitable. It just has to happen.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. Most of the transaction already done on the security token will be difficult to catch because it's a private placement at the end. Just to give you some number, we are working, not yet close, finger crossed, with a financial institution on a plan to organize 1.4 billion value. Organize 1.4 billion, yeah. Different portfolio, different kind of underlying, but I mean, it will be proposed in a closed environment on which you can access with the KYC, with whitelisting process. So using BlockInvest platform, you need to be invited, you need to perform the KYC AML, and then the whitelist manager of the financial institution through a blockchain transaction will whitelist your wallet. After that, you can operate. Before that, is not. And if, I mean, at least for what we think is, if a security token is properly structured, will never be traded in a place like T0. Because if we would like to think a secondary market of a security token, like an exchange like Binance or Kraken, Coinbase, whatever, it will never happen. Because there you have the compliance. And if you need to follow the compliance on the other end, we risk to replicate again what happened on the stock exchange. Okay, so the risk is to come back because you need to have a centralized authority that check that. A as a KYC and AML, B as a KYC and AML, and they can trade. If you want to respect the compliance part, at least for, I mean, the direction we are taking in Europe. So I think that if you want to provide, not calling a secondary market, but a way out of a security token, we need to think outside the box. Okay. Yeah. Well, when I can buy and sell, maybe it's not enough. It's not.
Yeah.
Enough.
Well, if you think about, you look at things like Forge and there used to be, I don't know if it's still in existence, Second Market, and all of these groups where pre-Facebook IPO, you could buy shares of Facebook from employees or from early investors and things like that. You would go and you would contact them. They would do KYC on you. You'd prove you're an accredited investor. You would prove that you have a minimum of $100,000 to buy a block of shares and things like that. And you would go through a process and it would take a few months. There's no reason why that process shouldn't take minutes, especially if you already have a Schwab account and you already gave them your KYC. They can already confirm you have the liquid assets in your account. And there also is no reason why it has to be $100,000. It was $100,000 minimum because a human being had to pick up the phone and be like, hey, Andrew, are you a real person? Would you like to buy some Facebook stock? Let's talk about this. And
I remember that.
I mean, I remember, I will tell you I have no skin in this game whatsoever, but I remember our friend and I don't even know. I think they're still in existence. Who launched Realty Mogul back in the day. I think her name was Jillian. Jillian. So I remember calling her once because I worked in the crowdfunding space and I was building platforms in the crowdfunding space, and we powered 20 different platforms probably at one point. And I signed up on all of the ones, even the ones we didn't power. And I had become friends after meeting her at all of these events and stuff that we went to. And I signed up on Realty Mogul. And Realty Mogul was the first crowdfunding platform where after I signed up, a human being gave me a call and said, "Hey, Alon, I saw that you signed up on Realty Mogul. How can I help?" And I literally was like, "You guys are going to win." And I called her up and I said, the first platform that actually took customer support seriously and held my hand and whatever. But that was 10 years ago, right? Literally like almost 10 years ago now. If you think about that, we're in a very different position today than we are now, right? Like, or than we were back then. Sorry, I had like half a margarita. So
you need another half.
Back then, we weren't comfortable spending money on the internet the way that we were right now. Back then, you didn't even stream a movie on the internet. Think about that. So online banking was a piece of crap. Nothing worked. And today, we don't want to talk to a person. I know that I want to buy a share in Crowdfund Insider. I'm going to do it on the internet without talking to a soul, and I just want to click the button, right? And that's how it should work. And that's how it should work with private companies, especially we've gotten used to it in crypto, right? Like I really love a company that launched a token. I just buy the token. Why can't we do that with other private securities? And that's where it's going to work much easier once it's digitized, right? And amongst a market that's growing in age too. It's not just these these kids that don't have any money. It's the age is rising up. Nobody wants to go into a bank anymore.
Nobody in the right mind, right? No, technology is best when it's ubiquitous, but it's not obtrusive. You want it when you need it, and then you don't want to be bothered by it. It just needs to be there, and that's the direction that we're heading with everything. Just with financial services, you have to, prove you're actually a person. You're not, some, criminal in North Korea, stealing digital assets or something else. You have to go through that process. But platforms and people are working through that process because you have to do it because you're going to have to keep the regulators happy. And honestly, I think RegTech and SupTech is something that compliance should just wholly embrace because it's going to make their life so much easier when they'll be able to feel secure in who is making these transactions, and it's not some sanctioned Russian that we don't like anymore, right? It's just going to be part of the process. And I'll go back to the exchange thing because I think that platforms like T0, Securitize, Tokeny, ADDX, there's all these different platforms that are evolving. They're heading in the right direction. These are the pioneers. T0 has that partnership with the Boston Stock Exchange. And now they have the blockchain stock exchange, which is the first kind of blockchain exchange. Now they really aren't using blockchain yet, but they've been approved to be an actual regulated exchange, which is an enormous step. It just takes time. Securitize keeps surprising me because within the past couple of weeks, I've seen them, working on a deal in France, doing a deal in Japan. They're, facilitating global deals that are kind of blending institutional with retail. It's slow, but it's happening. It's just going to take some time. So, we're not going to wake up tomorrow and the NYSE and NASDAQ are, all blockchain operated, but they're watching this and they want to be there too. It's just going to happen.
I mean, it's been years since I think it was the head of the New York Stock Exchange said that all securities will be tokenized. And that was, I think, the CEO of the New York Stock Exchange like multiple years ago. So they know it's happening. I'm going to really quickly, I'm going to take a quick look at the Q&A. I know that a lot of people are asking. By the way, some people are asking questions on YouTube and various other places. If you're on one of the streams, because I know there's hundreds of people watching on the streams that aren't in the system right now, go to meet.blockchainbooze.io if you want to ask a question in the Q&A, because that's the easiest way for me to vet them all, see them, and also get you in the system, because when we're done, you'll be able to turn on your camera and hang with the community if you'd like. So hold on, there's some random questions about taxes and things like that. We can get to that later, but I want to Jim has a question actually specifically for Lorenzo on a specific deal. I'm going to read it word for word because Jim is a regular member of the community, and I trust he worded it better than I will rephrase it. He said, Lorenzo, can you describe specifically your real estate tokenization entity RealHouse SRL in Italy, along with Investi SPA? How is that working out? So he's asking about this real estate tokenization entity called RealHouse. Can you tell us about it?
I mean, it's very simple. The company is the legal entity. Basically, is not the tokenization entity. We created the software, so we are not the one that legally makes the tokenization. It's our client duty. So basically, we sell the platform. It's like the model that Tokenaya. We sell the platform to financial institution that can make the tokenization operation. To make an example on the real estate, we recently onboard a new client in Italy. Actually, is a company that listed actually on Italian Stock Exchange that manage an asset management company, a couple of real estate funds. So they are preparing to issue equity token on some SPV to manage their club deal of investor, especially foreign investor, to facilitate the onboarding of a new investor. And then going to issue tokenized bond from another SPV vehicle to basically finance a very interesting operation in Tuscany, and to increase the number of participants. But we are not the legal entity that make the tokenization. You need to be regulated to do that. We are the tech guy, basically.
So when you guys say you're the tech guys, you're creating the token. Are you building the platform for them to do KYC through and some things like that?
Exactly. We build the management platform that we white labeled for the banks, for the private funds, that basically on which they can create the underlying asset differently from, for example, from Securitize, put everything on chain, all the documents are notarized, every piece of information has its own instance on the platform and on the blockchain, and they invite people, provide the platform helps you with the KYC part. You whitelist investor, and after that they can invest. Okay, so the deal I was talking before about more than 1 billion tokenized asset would be managed by a bank through the BlockInvest platform, but with their BlockInvest platform. There is no one BlockInvest platform, especially for the particular client we have. Everyone has its own instance of the platform. It only works like that.
Yeah. So they all have their own private instance per bank.
Exactly.
And what happens?
Centralized platform like Securitize. So if you want to invest in Securitize is a licensed company, and you need to go there. We have a different business model. We want to take a lot of client financial institution that will populate the primary market, so that we can offer them in a later stage a solution for the secondary market, for at least what we have in mind. But on the primary market, we don't make the issuance. We have not the legal entity to do that.
Yeah. No, I mean I think that's a smart move to be the technology provider.
Especially because we are based in Europe, in Italy. So it's
as a techie myself, that's the second I learned that what I wanted to do in the crowdfunding space was illegal, I became the technology provider for others who wanted to deal with regulators because I was so against that, right? and I'm just not built for that, right? Like I joked at the event. I don't know if I said it in front of you, Andrew, but I joked with. We had David Wield there, who's known as the father of the Jobs Act, and I told him that, you know, to give him credit and a lot of our other friends in the space credit, when they first told me that they were going to get a law passed that would make crowdfunding legal, I laughed at them and I was like, there's no fucking way. This is impossible. There's no way you're going to do it. And I didn't really participate other than telling my friends that, you know, I wish you luck, but I don't think it's going to work out for you, until they branded it the Jobs Act. And then I literally, at one of the events, I think we were in San Diego or Orlando, one of the crowdfunding events. I remember backstage somebody telling me, this thing called the Jobs Act is going to be put forth in front of Congress or whatever. And I shook their hands and I said, we're finally going to do it. You're doing it. And they were like, they looked at me like, why are you so sure this time? And I said, it's called the Jobs Act. What politician in the after the Great Recession that we had would vote against jobs? Like, how could you be reelected ever again when your opponent can say you voted against jobs? It was genius. But
yeah, it's hard to do.
That was a lot of our friends in that crowdfunding space, right?
And now it's happening again in the blockchain space. The example that Andrew was describing before in Singapore is happening in Europe, and it's called pilot regime. So basically, you can operate in a safe environment for a year, I think. And
is it like a sandbox kind of environment?
It is like a sandbox, but it talks about market infrastructure based on the blockchain. So in order to try to create, thanks to this new technology, the capital market union, that again, we don't have it. But the interesting thing is that the pilot regime started with a very sandbox approach. So the limit were something like 40 million euro for a bonds tokenized. Now, I mean, they increased, let's say a little bit, the limit, €500 million for a tokenized equity and 1 billion euro for a tokenized bond. So at least to me and for the European market, it is no more a sandbox. So it's just a way to say the direction is this one. I know that in US, the number are much bigger, but 1 billion of bonds, I mean, for one single emission, it's
in US, the numbers can be bigger, but when regulation stops everything, it doesn't matter how big the numbers are when our industry gets stopped at zero, right? Like, so I think that, I know that in the crowdfunding space, the UK was one of those places where regulation actually was much better than the United States, and they did some equity crowdfunding deals on, what was it, Crowdcube? Yeah.
Crowdcube.
So if Europe does it, look, I at DGH, we invest in companies around the world, and every day I see Americans who contact me, and they're based in Singapore, they're based in other places in the world, because they're not going to launch their company in the United States. But they were born and raised here. They never even left this country until they needed to start their company, and they left to start, right? Americans are not inherently travelers to the rest of the world. We're pretty insulated people, at least the people that we grew up with. I don't know a lot of people, unless they had family in another country, that traveled out of the country. But all of a sudden, 90% of the entrepreneurs, the American entrepreneurs in the blockchain space, are calling me from another country. And if Europe does it, it could lead the charge because of the European Union. Then all of a sudden it opens up to so many other potential places. So I hope that
Europe is still working on MiCA, and I haven't checked on it where it is in the status. They completed the pan-European securities crowdfunding, where you can raise up to 5 billion euros across all member states, but that's rather small. The whole MiCA thing, which, like I said, I haven't read recently, the changes they've made, that could be transformational. I would say this: I think that the United States is behind the curve in many respects due to the regulatory environment. Unfortunately, the batch that we have in place right now are pumping the brakes pretty hard, or harder than the prior group, which has compelled a lot of innovators to go to Singapore or to go to other jurisdictions, or plant the flag in BVI or Cayman or someplace, just so they can be certain that they are being compliant with rules that are opaque. I will say this also, is that the presidential working group that did the report for the White House, it was nowhere near as bad as it could have been. And actually, I found glimmers of hope there, because it seemed like Treasury was actually more supportive than I initially anticipated. And I've been told that some of the people that are leading that charge are actually very supportive. It just seems to be certain people on the Hill, and unfortunately Gary Gensler at the commission, who doesn't want to have anything to do with it right now. But I think there's a lot of people that think he's on the wrong side of history, because things are changing, and you have this bipartisan legislation. Who knows if it'll get passed, because Congress is where good legislation goes to die, and bad bills get passed and signed into law. But there's an opportunity there to transform things, and it's going to be hard, but it's possible. I tend to be optimistic, maybe unrealistically so.
I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic when it comes to entrepreneurs doing amazing things across the world. I get very quickly pessimistic when it comes to politicians and what they say versus what they do. But every single person who's ever spoken at one of our conferences that works for the government, whose job it is to enforce regulation or enforce rules and laws, like FBI agents and CFTC enforcers and different people who've spoken at our conference, 100% across the board, they all think that the blockchain is the greatest thing in the world. They all wish that the criminals they were chasing were transacting in Bitcoin. They all wish all of this stuff was on the blockchain, because they're the only ones who understand it, right? Like, they understand it. They realize how transparent it is, and it's easier to follow the money on the blockchain than anywhere else. But there's other forces at play when you're dealing with politicians, right?
Yeah, but there is another risk that we are not considering applying blockchain seriously. And in a field like real estate could happen. Many people ask, how you tokenize real estate? The reply is always the same. You don't tokenize the physical asset. You tokenize the financial vehicle that owns the asset. If you would like to tokenize a physical asset, the land registry should be on chain. But land registry automatically updated on chain, politically speaking, means how many jobs lost? A lot. I don't know. I mean, in Europe it would be dramatic.
Yeah, but how many?
The issue,
it's you're looking at it backwards, right? Like, if you're a politician or you're looking at it with unions and things like that, you're going, oh wow, jobs lost, like, right? These inefficient industries create jobs, right? But at least I can speak to the United States, right? Because I've done the research in the past, and it's not research that I've done, right? Kaufman has done the research. Like, the biggest consulting groups in the world, the smartest people in the world have done the research. And guess what? The only industries or the only categories that create new jobs in this country, and I'm sure it's the same way in the rest of the world, are startups and small businesses, right? Small businesses are all going out of business because regulation is making it hard for them to stay in business. At least I'm seeing it in small communities, Southern California and things like that. But small businesses are having the toughest time in the world because of COVID and everything else. And then startups are leaving this country. So the one thing that's creating jobs in this country is innovation and startups, and it's leaving, right? And any politician who actually cared about their country, actually cared about their people, and not their special interests or other things, would be doing everything they possibly can to keep innovation in their own country, to keep startups in their own country, to keep jobs being created in their own country.
You need to run against Brad Sherman, okay?
You know what's funny about Brad? He's never once, of all of the times I've sent letters to his office, I've written public letters in the local paper, you've written about it on Crowdfund Incident, I made sure that his office has received every single one of those things. He's never responded. He's never even responded with a no thank you. He pretends like we don't even exist. There is a woman running against him. She seems great. I honestly don't know enough about her politics, but she's an ex-school teacher. She's taking crypto donations and she says positive things. Erica Rhodes, I think her name is. She seems great on Twitter and everything. So we're going to learn more about her, and I'm actually going to try to have her on Blockchain Booze. We'll talk to her. I bet she won't pretend like we don't exist. But Brad Sherman is just like, the thing I feel about Brad Sherman is that you don't get to the position you're in, being totally naive and stupid, for lack of a better term, right? He knows exactly what he's saying, and he knows he's lying, right? If you're the head of the Investor Protections Committee, but every single law enforcement agent says that they wish everyone was transacting in crypto, but you're telling people that crypto is evil, crypto is bad, crypto is only used for criminals, you're lying, right? You're lying. And the people who pay you to be in power, or at least the people who contribute the most to your campaigns, happen to be the financial institutions that are against crypto. It's so transparent. It's so like they're treating us like we're stupid too. And it just drives me nuts.
I have to say,
I'm not going to ever run for anything. I'm sorry.
He has some entertainment value. I mean, you can always count on him saying something.
You know what? Every time he talks shit, Bitcoin
profoundly,
goes up.
Yeah. Even Maxine Waters has been cutting him off recently because I think she realizes that he's kind of like, he's gone off the reservation too many times.
Yeah, it's just bonkers because, as we know, right, transparency is not a bad thing, right? The biggest problem with the crypto is evil thing and trying to stop crypto with regulation is the most obvious thing is that criminals don't give a fuck what regulation is, right? If I'm a criminal, I'm not following the law anyway. So it's not going to stop a single criminal from doing anything. But what it will do is it will stop good people starting real companies, creating real jobs, and creating benefits to our economy and the rest of the world's economy. It'll stop them in their tracks. It'll stop them from doing the right thing. But criminals will keep being criminals. They don't give a crap. So it's like,
crooks always be crooks.
What are you trying to stop? What are you stopping?
I think part of the narrative was driven by the fact that regulators were slow to the game, and they, there's this theme that Bitcoin's only use is for ransomware. And for a while, it had a good go of being ransomware. But once they figured out that, the blockchain is public and you can watch where it all goes, and that there were a bunch of really cool companies that could help you track it down, then they upped their game. And so now, they track all this stuff. They know where it all goes, Treasury, the IRS, the SEC. They all have teams.
For them to understand that? How long it takes?
They understand it now. It's part of the game. It's how long can we delay?
I think they already know that it's public and it's more transparent.
The internet is bad. The internet is only for criminals and pornography. Internet bad. Who would ever put their credit card on the internet, right? Like it's a rehash of the same thing we went through 20 years ago as teenagers, right? Like when we were, at least talking for my own age, when we were in high school and people were like, oh my gosh, people on ICQ, on AOL Instant Messenger, only predators exist on the internet, right? Be careful on the internet. It's bad,
With respect to 20 years ago with the internet, now it's even worse because now we are not talking about just information. We are not talking about exchange of value, trust. So now, at least it's my idea that there is they try to keep the power because the huge financial institution, I try to learn how they work. They exploit the situation because the disinformation makes price. So there's a huge opportunity for the few people, for the few institutions that knows the right information in the right time. Cutting this kind of unfair advantage of few institutions, of few people, it could be something new. So the possibility to have the same level of information can make a huge difference, and can allow people all over the world to make the difference, to decide with the same level of information.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the beauty of it, right?
I don't is the same, should be the same. Okay.
You know, I don't have to be a guy who went to Harvard Business School or Stanford to get access to the best deal in the world now. I can access it on the internet. And the rest of the people in power want to slow that down as much as possible because they went to Stanford or to Harvard Business School or wherever the hell they went to, and it's important to them to hold on to that power as much as humanly possible. Guys, we're like we're running out of time. We went off. Mostly my fault. We went off the topic of security tokens, but what I do want to do is make sure, Lorenzo, give us where we can follow you. On Twitter, or your company on Twitter, on LinkedIn, wherever, the best place to follow you and see what's new. And also from Andrew, let's make sure everyone in the community follows. And we're going to have both of you back, of course. And Lorenzo, now you're going to have to be a regular. We're going to need to. And we didn't really go fully into Italy. We talked about Italy a little more before we went live, actually. So we need to do that again. Maybe we need to do it.
Yeah, there was some news there. There's news there. Yeah.
It will be a pleasure to come back. I mean, to follow us on LinkedIn, you can follow Block Invest, and I mean, our marketing is great. So,
what's the website? The URL for the website? Block Invest.
Invest.it.
.it. I knew it was different. So blockinvest.it to follow Lorenzo's company, and Andrew, crowdfundinsider.com. What else?
At Crowdfund Inside Twitter. My personal Twitter handle is at Andrew R. Dix, D-I-X. You can meet me there. Somebody asked a question about green. There's the Metaverse Green Exchange, MVGX, in Singapore. Check it out. They're doing some green digital asset type regulated stuff, because I think that may answer your question you have. But otherwise, reach out. I mean, you know, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, everywhere.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. BB Studios, one of the regulars, said crowdfund insider kind of sounds like an oxymoron, right? The whole point of crowdfunding is that there are no insiders. Kind of, yes. But I will tell you that, you know, not so low key, whatever. If you're in the know, if you know, you know. But Crowdfund Insider is one of the best places to get information of what's happening in our space, not just in the security token space, but just the blockchain space in general. Digital Assets Insider is the digital asset side of what Andrew does. And I will say, I can't give any more love to Andrew, right? Like we joke that he is VIP. He sits front and center at every one of our conferences, but it's the truth. We love Andrew. And if you want to know something in the space, Andrew is the man, and Crowdfund Insider is the place. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you always coming to our conferences and giving us love. I think Andrew was the first, MC of our Security Token Summit. When we had it in LA, we had you as the MC of the event, and it's. BB Studios, by the way, says no offense. It was a joke, but
it's okay. I got thick skin.
So Andrew, I need to ask a selfie for the next conference. So when I will have the occasion to meet you in person.
Yes. So we have. By the way, that's a good segue. I'm going to give you guys updates as soon as next week. But Security Token Summit, we're going to do once a year, every year in New York from this point on. As far as we know, that's what we want to do. But at the end of this year, it's looking like we might change the dates a little bit. November 1st through 3rd in Los Angeles for LA Blockchain Summit. That's what it's looking like today. By next week, this time, I'll know for sure if that's the date we set. But that's the date we're looking at. It's going to be really, really cool. We'll have a security token stage at the event and content specifically about security tokens on the main stage, and we'll dive into the weeds in the side stage too. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So everyone who's watching, we'll be seeing you soon. Coop, holy crap, that's an awesome Reaper right there. One of the guys just shared an NFT. By the way, as a joke, I've been saying this, but it's not really a joke. I can't wait for us to be flipping NFTs and flip one NFT for some real estate in the real world. That's going to be happening soon. I know it. And that's going to be really fun. Crispin, yes, you have to go to LA. Every single one of you in the regular department, you know who you are. You're coming to LA, and we're giving you tickets. And the Blockchain Booze community at LA Blockchain. I can only say this because we're an hour into the stream. Anybody watching it on YouTube at this point is a regular. So you know it's happening. So make sure you participate at Blockchain Booze. Go, by the way, if you're watching on the stream, go to meet.blockchainbooze.io. In about 10 seconds, I'm going to end the stream. You're going to be able to turn on your camera, hang out with us, and have some fun. All right, guys. Cheers. I finished my cup.
Yeah,
thank you. Lorenzo.
Yeah, it's good.
Great to meet you. Thank you for staying up. It's 3 a.m. now. The basketball games should be starting any minute, or maybe they're on now. Andrew, thank you to you too. It's late. It's 9 p.m. on your side of the world. So thank you. And,
yeah, we'll be in touch. Great meeting you, Lorenzo.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.